Okay, so I did intentionally have you guys give me a non-human character, even though your story has to have a human character. So we are going to come up with a quick little sketch of a sloth learning to ride a bike because she wants to fit in. Okay, so I'm just going to set that to the side. For the storyboard concept, it's helpful if you have like what you want on each page already written out. So on the assignment from Tuesday, you should have identified what you want to have in your story and then start writing out what would go on each page. If you haven't done that already, at least having an understanding of what you want to have happen will be helpful. Okay. So the first thing I recommend is drawing a line down the long way of your paper and then cutting that in either 3 or 4 sections. Okay. So this way you can just get 8 frames on your page. If you want to work on it like this, that's totally fine too. This is how I'm going to be doing it because I know that my pages will be more long than they will be tall. Okay. So this allows me to start prepping out 8 different pages and illustrations. This is the part where I just encourage you to doodle. It's okay if it doesn't make a ton of sense. But if we're going to have a story where a sloth feels left out because they don't know how to ride a bike, first I'm going to have to introduce my character. So I could just have my little sloth dude, okay, walking around. Maybe he's walking outside of his house, okay. And then that's page 1. It can be just a really rough sketch of what's going to be on my first page. Does not have to have much detail. I can see I've got my sloth and I've got the house. Okay. Next, we might see over our sloth's head, other characters riding bikes. Okay. And this is where you guys will see all my great rough artistic ability. Okay. And then we've got all of these bikes. And again, this does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to make a ton of sense. If you guys have feedback for me or would like to provide some great judgment and humor in the chat, feel free to do so as we go. But I might label this like sloth head. Okay. And then riding down the street. So this is how we learn that our sloth is seeing people ride bikes. And then, I guess I don't have to move that. Maybe our sloth looking at ground, and then we'll have our text up here. Okay. So you guys kind of see like where I'm going with this is have an idea of where you want your story to go and then just start sketching some stuff out. Like don't be afraid for it to get messy. If I don't like this, I actually don't like the way that that is set up. I'm just going to X that out and then try something new. Maybe I just want to see like instead I'll have like the garage door up and have some boxes and then there's a little bike in the corner or something. Okay. But then like have boxes around here. And then the sloth is looking from here. I like that one a lot better. So I'm going to have that be my 3rd page. Okay. So the goal here is just to kind of get a really rough idea of what do we actually want to have on our pages, on our actual illustrations. And once we have this super rough outline here, then we're going to take another piece of paper or even you can go over your sketches here. And I think I might stick with this 3rd panel. I really like that. We're going to go through and kind of sketch out every single page that we might want to have in our book. And then taking the piece of paper or the size of piece of paper that you're actually going to use in your book, actually make it look kind of nice. So this is super funky. I want to make it look nicer and have it be a representation of what I'll actually have in my story. So I like to use pencil to first do everything, even if I'm going to be using marker or pens or something later, and just drawing really lightly. So if I'm going to have the garage door, I'm actually going to try to have somewhat straight line. If you feel free to, where did I put it? Sorry, I got some out earlier in preparation and then I forgot where I put it. If you want to have super straight lines, use tools. Okay, and then I'll have my garage door here. Okay, so actually go through, take your time a little bit more, and then create the actual drawing. So I know that I'm walking through this pretty quickly in class. For my actual book, this took me about, I think the actual sketching part for, I think 23 pages, took me about a half hour. So I spent about a minute per page, okay? But I also don't have much text on each of my pages. So if you're going to have more text on your pages, then make sure that you leave that blocked out and you don't need as many little sketches. Okay. So I'm then just going to take the ruler and keep drawing things out. If I want straight edges and I've got my ruler, then I'm going to create my boxes here. Oops. Okay. And then maybe a storage piece over here, kind of sticking out. And then I'm going to put, even though I didn't put everything in here, this is just a rough outline. I could even just put like the counter space, more stuff on it. So just going through and making it look really nice, but doing things really lightly. Okay, imagine what would actually judge. Okay, and I'm just going to put a shelf up here and then some boxes. Okay, growing up, we always had just a ton of boxes everywhere in our garage. All right, so this is most of it. And then I'm just going to kind of tuck the bike back here. Okay. I don't like that, which is why we use pencil. Okay. And for this, I would probably actually use a reference photo. Try to make it look as somewhat realistic as possible. Okay. But I just took this really rough sketch and then made it look a little bit nicer. And you guys can kind of see it on here. It's not as easy to notice just because I am drawing super lightly, right? Once I have everything laid out nicely on this, if this is the page that I am going to actually use, then I need to make sure that I can fit all of my text on there. So I might end up writing out the words, right? So really lightly, he looked into the garage and saw the bike he never learned how to ride. Okay. Now I can see that's going over part of the garage door, so I could even then just kind of like block this off a little bit and know that I won't need to put any actual details in this corner. Okay. So I know that now I can start going over with the marker or colored pencil, whatever I'm actually going to use, and start putting in some more of that detail. Okay, and if I'm going to have this be the bottom of the garage, I've got the driveway here. Okay, pull everything down. So that's how we go from building out, like doing just some super quick sketches. I think I spent what, like 20 to 40 seconds on each of these, if that. And then this is going to be what you take a little bit longer on. But the key that we want to try to accomplish today is figuring out what do we actually want to have on every single page. By the end of today, we should have a couple of pages completed of this. If you are creating yours on the computer, you can create the sketchboard, the storyboard digitally. But we are going to make sure that we at least know what our story is and that we can create this storyboard. Okay. I don't see any questions in the chat right now, so I'm just gonna keep on talking a little bit. But when it comes to actually making sure we have our story concept plotted out, that can be as simple as what I started class with today of give me a character or an animal. And then once we kind of settle on that, I moved on to, okay, now what is a situation or a setting? You can do that same process, but instead of it being an animal, think of what is an identity that we don't see represented in children's books very often. Okay. When the librarians were in here, we heard them say that a lot of the times stories really highlight the culture or identity and really draw attention to this person is this identity and this is how they are impacted. But some of the really great stories out there just have a daily life, right? So the character going about life and not drawing any extra attention to the identity. So if that's something that you're struggling with, trying to come up with a good storyline, just think of, okay, what's an issue that kids might face? They might feel really left out because they don't know how to ride a bike. Okay, well, we can create a story about someone learning how to ride a bike, but then put a great message in there. Okay, we could write a story about, let me see what else you guys have put in here. Whoops, I went too far up. About moving or not knowing the best gift to buy for a friend, right? So thinking about what are just some daily situations that people might face, and how can we represent that in a story? And then figuring out, okay, I want my character to do this. What would be some situations or actions they might take? Okay. Does this make sense? Am I explaining it in a kind of okay way? Okay. Okay, because I just got several emails from some of you guys saying that you're really stressed about this or you don't know where to start. So I just wanted to start at the start today and show you guys how to come up with a story concept. Just think of what are daily situations. Those are some of the best children's books. Daily situations, because then kids are learning ideas and concepts through situations they might actually find themselves in. And then work through and create a really rough sketch. These are super, like, you don't even know that that's a sloth, right? I don't know how to draw a sloth. I know that personally, I'm going to have to go figure out how to draw that if I wanted to create this story. But knowing then, like, okay, once I get that really rough sketch, I'm going to need to go through it and make it look cleaner. Next week is really where we're going to focus in on the like nice illustrations. But today I just wanted to cover like how do you actually go through the thinking process of establishing a story and establishing a character. Okay.